back, just like a spine hole. You already know it's me, your girl P, your favorite bitch, and your favorite witch, and I am tired, so we're gonna run through this episode. Welcome to this week's episode of Postscript. I am, as always, your lovely host, and for our first segment this week, it's gonna be P's favorite pieces. I can't remember if I talked about this on the show or not already, but this is bomb as fuck, okay? And I do mean bomb as fuck. This is basically like a Slim Jim, but it has, I believe, less calories or less sugar or less carbs. Or something. It was a reason I bought this and not the Slim Jim. That's what I'm gonna say. But this is really good. This is the hot one. It's by Jack Links. The people that make like the beef jerky. I got this from Dollar Tree and I love these things. These definitely have been added to my little snack list of, you know, my new eating experience. And the other thing I wanted to say for P's favorite pieces was I never lost my whimsy. And that just hit me a couple days ago. Like, with all the stuff that I be experiencing and getting to do and like all the little childhood dreams I be getting to make come true and all that shit, it's because I never lost my whimsy. You bitches will never out whimsy me because you lost your whimsy trying to be a bad bitch. I'm both. You ever thought about that? Yeah. This week's question that need answers is, addiction is so real and it don't only be drugs. Because what are you addicted to? Because I'll go first. I am addicted to carbs and sugar. And I know that I have an addiction to it because when I was first like, you know, removing it from my diet, it was so like, I used to like be feeling like I'm losing my mind. Like I'm so hungry, I need to eat something. I want a chip, I want to fry, and now I don't be having those kind of like depressing thoughts about food no more, if that makes sense. That's how I know I'm like truly addicted to it, because I still remember, you know, the taste and the flavor and everything like that, but I've had the willpower to not have it. So I feel that when I do allow myself to have it, I might jump off the deep end again. I see why people be in recovery and be in just the never-ending cycle of addiction when it comes to, especially drugs. Girl, I can't give up chips. I mean, I have given them up, but you know what I'm saying? I couldn't imagine if it was something that was really doing something to, like, I'm not saying that sugar and carbs don't do nothing to your brain chemistry and all that kind of shit, but girl, I get it. Whatever. Not making it okay, but now I understand. So what are the things that you addicted to? Think about that. And if you had to give them up, needed to give them up, could you give them up? Would you be able to survive? Would you be losing your mind? You know what I'm saying? This week's bar for bar, the romantic album by Bruno Mars. The whole album. Special mentions, Risk It All, Cha Cha Cha, and I Just Might, or I Will, or whatever the fuck the song was called. I love that whole album. I wish it was more songs. It's only like 8 or 9 songs on there. Like, Bruno was tweaking for that. But the whole album is the bar for bar. I love Bruno Mars. Like, every album he come out with, every time he drop music, it be something new. Like, this time he Mexican. And I love that. Like, cause last time it was disco, but this time it's giving heavy on the mariachi band, heavy on the samba, heavy on the banda. He Mexican this time, and I love it. For conscious kind, I'm gonna share a little comment with you because I was watching this other lady, Empress Karen, who I like on Instagram, and she's an herbalist, spiritualist, all the things, you know, alchemist. And she was basically saying, you know, what is your spiritual practice or routine, and what's your spiritual hygiene, and what are the things that you need to lock back into that you maybe have stopped doing as often or as much as you used to regarding your spiritual religious practices, right? So she was reading me real bad, and I was like, all right, girl, relax. So I do be giving my offering. I offer water all the time on the altar, but I haven't done like, you know, specialized offerings specifically for like my grandma and my grandfather, like. But I felt like she was dragging me when she said that. She was like, you know, how can you tap back into feeding spirit? How can you tap? And I said, girl, like, real read me, why don't you? So, you know, I love to get, and I've been feeling that way. Like, I need to lock back in. Because I've just been doing the bare bones. Like, you know, candle water, praying. Like, so I need to get back to it. I need to get back to it. So I'm appreciative of her reading me like that. So that's this is question and answers. What's your spiritual practices, religious practices, and how can you you know, clean it up a little bit? What's your spiritual hygiene? How do you decompress yourself when you around monitoring spirits, when you around wandering eyes, when you, like, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. And for our last final segment, as always, is hashtag I cannot make this shit up. We've been talking about it for the last couple episodes. We did have the total solar eclipse on February the 17th in the sign of Aquarius, but we are also going to have on today, which is March 3rd, we're going to have the total full moon eclipse in the sign of Virgo. Eclipses happen in pairs. I just told you 2 things. That's a pair. Total full moon eclipse is also, people call it the blood moon because the moon turns like an orange reddish color. If you were able to see it, I don't think anybody was able to see it for real. But I digress. With the first eclipse happening in the sign of Aquarius, that was ruled by the planet Saturn. And with this eclipse now happening in the sign of Virgo, that's going to be ruled by the planet Mercury. And we were talking about Mercury a lot, girl. Mercury is in its detriment, it's in a small, and it's in retrograde. And if you don't even know what none of that means, don't that sound crazy? If somebody comes to you and say, girl, you're not going to believe what happened to Mercury, because you know she her detriment, she her fall, and she in retrograde. You're going to be like, damn, what happened? Right? You're not just going to be like, oh, good for her. That don't sound like a good for her. The solar eclipse was, and like I said, in the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius is the innovator, the rebel, the, you know, less work smarter, not harder kind of thing. And with the solar eclipse, that was something that was external. You know what I'm saying? When now with the lunar eclipse, we're going to get into the internal. The moon is inner. It's us. It's you know what I'm saying? So Virgo is the checklister. Virgo is the color coder. Virgo is the sticky noter. And Virgo is ruled by the planet Mercury. So avoid Virgo at its peak shadow behavior is very perfectionist, very judgy, very that's not right, you didn't do that, like that kind of thing. Don't adhere to none of that, because perfectionism isn't the goal. But what is the goal is to think about the things you've been doing in the shadows, what you've been working with in the background. We talked about the last couple, not even last, probably like 3 or 4 episodes ago. We said real G's moving silence like lasagna. What you been doing in the background? Alexa, play Background by Jen. What's your sneaky little upgrade that you about to launch? That you about to, not even launch, because it don't need to be nothing that's broadcasted. But what's the little sneaky little thing you've been tuning into or doing or asking yourself or committing to or changing or releasing? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because with the lunar eclipse, that is something that you are to release. If we're going to get into the astrology jargon of it all, with the lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo, and with it being a full moon, it happens near something called the South Node in astrology, and the South Node is also referred to as the tail of the dragon Rahu in, you know, the astrology jargon. I'm not even going to get into all of that, but if you know an animal has a head and it has a tail. The tail, what does it do? Is shit out of the ass. That's what happens at the end of the animal. So what are you releasing? What are you letting go of? What is being purged so that you can move forward with a clearer understanding and mindset? Because heaven is a prepared place for prepared people. That's the demand of my grandfather funeral kept saying a long time ago. And that's the one thing that stuck with me, that like kind of made me be okay with my grandfather passing. Because my family, we don't have no fucking money. And I was just like, who is going to bury this man? Like, what's going to happen? What's going to go on? But nothing had to be done when my grandfather died. Literally, I decided, I picked out his outfit. And I, you know, his accessories, his watch and stuff. And that was it. And he was burnt, like, because he was prepared. He had his affairs in order. So not saying that anybody's going to heaven anytime soon, but just heaven is a prepared place for prepared people. Be prepared in this life right now. Because I feel like with us being such a generation of, you know, things are fast, the internet, anything you want to know is right there at your fingertips. Everything is right there, right now, right there, right now, right there, right now. I feel that, unfortunately, my generation, we have a bad habit of, okay, what's next? I did this now, what's next? I did this, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? Stop being worried about and always trying to get ahead, and be worried about and be trying to get aligned, hope. Like, somebody need to hear that. Because sometimes when you are, the only thing you're worried about is the next step, the next step, the next step. You don't even know what you got right now. Because what you can have right now, you could refine it and make it better. So that when you get to that next step, it'll be even easier. But all you're worried about is, all right, that's done next. Right? So it's cool to have a little peer review, a little rough draft. Relax. Something that I read in Maddie's blog post, she said, be aware of what you're maintaining out of habit. And the thing that instantly brought to my mind was like, I know if you're familiar with the ACEs test, it's like a something childhood of a girl, I don't fucking know. It's for kids that had a fucked up life. But like kids who score very high on the ACEs test, they usually say it's a thing where they can like read their parent and they already kind of know how to act or what to say, what not to say, not to move their shoulders this way, not to do this, not to do that, because you already know the reaction of the person based on what you want to do. So you have conditioned yourself to just kind of live like that. Some of that shit you need to let go, because you're still carrying it with you and you don't even need to live like that no more. So be aware of the things that you're just maintaining out of habit, so that you don't shake the table, or that you don't be in a place to not keep the peace. Fuck the peace. No shade. And I didn't say throw your whole life away. I just said peep game and pay it. Okay, yeah, it's paid. That's cool. Don't, yeah. And if we go back up a little bit, I know I jumped forward, so I'm talking about the eclipse. But on March the 2nd, the day before the eclipse, Mars did enters Pisces, and Mars is the planet of action. That's how you show up, how you show out. Pisces is the dreamy illusion, delusion. We already talked about the eclipse with it being ruled by Mercury, and then Mercury being in its detriment in its fall. We talked about what the detriment and the fall meant. And Libra is the opposite sign of Aries. On March the 6th, Venus will also. So with Venus now in Aries, we talked about, last week we talked about Venus was in Pisces. Now Venus is moving into Aries. And Venus in Aries is in its detriment. Again, we keep talking about this word detriment. Detriment is not good. Detriment means that it's in the sign that is opposite of the sign that it does well in. It will be exalted in Libra because that's the sign that does well in. And being as though that Libra and Aries are opposite signs. That's why Venus is currently in its detriment. But hold on real quick. Let me remind you. On Monday, Venus was just at its exaltation degree. So in the astrology, you have the houses, you have the signs, you have the degrees. I'm still learning about the degrees, so not too much on me. But I do know the degree that it was in on Monday of this week was its exaltation degree, the degree of Libra. It wasn't in Libra, it was in the degree, right? Right. So from Monday, with it being at the degree of its exaltation, like, okay, girl, all right, yeah, hold on, I'm getting a little bit of the resources that I needed. I like that, I like that. And then by the end of the week, it's the complete opposite. Y'all bitches better catch a fucking grip like this and hold the fuck on and sit the fuck back. Please tell me y'all remember that Vine. That was my favorite Vine ever. Please tell me y'all remember that. Also, one of my newer favorite quotes that I just recently heard the other day was from Jocelyn Hernandez. That bitch said, "Bring me upside down. Put my ass in the air so you can kiss it from the back." That's what it gives. So like I said, with the eclipse, we not manifesting. You don't want your shit to get lost in the shadows. You don't want it to get lost in the darkness. But we are releasing, because what's done in the dark comes to the light. Y'all remember that song from the Tyler Perry movie? Damn, I think that's the name of the play. What's done in the dark comes to the light. Now I think about it. So release, because nothing that is unrequited shall stay. It's no longer welcome. Like, okay, and I meant to talk about this a couple weeks ago during Valentine's Day. If you know anybody that's a woman that was in her feels on Valentine's Day because this person didn't do what they wanted to do, or what she wanted to do, or they didn't show up, they didn't come, that woman should never fucking talk to that person ever again. Because I feel as though if you are exchanging sexually with a person, you should be able to ask them for anything in the fucking world. And that's just my opinion. That's why I stopped having sex with people, because I want to ask you for anything in the fucking world. Yeah, that's just my Valentine's Day theory. I just feel that if any person didn't get what they was expecting or what they thought was going to happen from this one person that's in their life, that person should never have access to you again. Like, have better coochie management skills. Because that also brings me back to another thing. I was reading an article earlier this week, and it was literally a pressed, dried flower, a poppy, that a man sent to his wife in a letter from the trenches of Belgium in World War I, bitch. Literally the trenches, not the hood, not from around the way. We call it the trench. Literally in dugout trenches in Belgium during World War I. He still was thinking about his bitch and wanted to let her know, I love you, and I'm gonna see you a little one too. So that's my soapbox, and I'm gonna get off of it. So Venus and Aries, like I said, in its detriment. Venus is the brand, the aesthetic, and Aries is the fire, the action, the go. It just gives me very much that Edna Mode meme. Y'all know what I'm talking about when she got the fire? She's like, and it withstands 8,000 degrees. That's just what Venus and Aries gives me. On March the 7th, we will have a Mercury Kazemi, so, you know, in the heart of the sun. So check your draft folders. You might be like, oh my God, I thought I sent that thing 3 days ago. Oh my God, I never. So Friday, you might get a little enlightenment on the things that you maybe let fall through the cracks a little bit. Not that that's a bad thing, but just, you know, go back through your drafts, check your messages, make sure you responded to that person, you called the other person back, you sent the text, like, you know what I'm saying? So just give yourself a little bit of grace. Because Mercury's in retrograde, so the communication is like talking underwater. You know how movies, when they be screaming, you can kind of know what they saying, but bitch, if you don't talk to water, you don't know what they saying. But we be right there in the water with them, right? And then also on the 7th, Venus is going to conjunct Neptune, so you know they're going to square up a little bit. So it's Pisces season. Indulge a little bit, enjoy your weekend, maybe watch your little shows, have some drinks, go out with your girls, whatever, but don't overdo it. Because on Sunday, Venus conjunct Saturn, and we know Saturn is the task master. Saturn is kicking asses and taking names. So don't overdo it. Then on Sunday, you be butt hurt because, I should have did this and now I don't got time and I could have and I would have and I should have. You can't, you ain't, you shan't. So that's that. So enjoy your dream state of Pisces season, but also keep your feet on the ground because real life is real and reality a check, okay? I was listening to Cheney. She's another like astrology person that I like, and she said that efficiency is what Virgo wants, not perfection. Efficiency and zero waste, specifically, and I said T. That's very much, that's my life. That Virgo moon has done so much for me, my God. So trust the process because you know all. And remember that eclipses speed things up. So I told y'all, catch a grip. Hold the fuck on and sit the fuck back. Thank you for coming. Make sure you watch, like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever, all the stuff. You know how we end the show. Bitches be mad because they be hating, and bitches be hating because they be mad. Bye, y'all.